Alright, so welcome back, guys. I meant to do this deck profile like 8 months ago, which is the reason why you see Chaos Ruler in their band. And I will eventually have to find a level 8 dragon to replace him. But this deck was one of my favorite decks to duel with because of the fact that it could bring out the big papas. Now I'm talking about like a Cosmic Blazar, shooting Quasar, the shooting Majestic Star Dragon. When I saw that this guy was an actual thing, dude, I got so excited, although he seemed like he would be pretty hard to summon, but I have, not so creative, but it is a very intelligent way of summoning him. And every single game that I play with this deck, I always am able to summon one of these big papa guys, which is really nice. And then occasionally the little papa. And if you can get a little papa and a big papa on the field, it's pretty well shut down for your opponent. So that's very nice. So we'll just start from the very beginning. The whole point of the Ascator Dawnwalker, which I may end up substituting him for something else now that Chaos Ruler is banned, is I was just able to discard something in my hand that I have excess of, or that I want to put in the grave. Maybe you want to put a Jet Synchron in the grave, or you want to put that Cyverse Synchron in the grave, or something like that. Then you could easily bring out the Ascator, the Fire Ant Ascator, from either your deck, preferably your deck, or from your hand, and then you could immediately make that level 8 Synchro, which I only have these as my 2 options. So one of the problems that I am finding, even thank God for Master Rule 5 having 6 Monster Zone spaces instead of 5, because I've actually in one game summoned 6 Synchro monsters on the field. But this is probably one of the first decks that I've ever found where I just summon so much. Almost every single turn. I mean, there might be that rare chance where I could potentially lose because I brick, but that almost never happens. That's the thing, is like this deck has an extremely high win ratio, assuming that you know what you're doing. I just keep summoning and summoning and summoning, although a lot of the times it's interesting. One of the reasons why I really like Celestial Double Star is because of the fact that I feel like I'm flooded with tuners sometimes. Because I'm using up the non-tuners, and then there are so many effects in here which are able to recycle your tuners. So just be careful of that you're utilizing the right ratio of tuners to non-tuners whenever you're trying to summon your big papas and well, all of your synchros in general. But there are so many different ways in which you can summon, and thank God for something like Phonon Pulse Dragon to be able to help summon your 2 big papas here, the Cosmic Blazar and Shooting Quasar. But yeah, I'll keep going. So we've got different level Synchrons in this game. I talked about in my Jack Atlas deck the reason why Synchron Resonator is misspelled using a K instead of a C, and that's because of the fact that otherwise he would be considered a Synchron Tuner and would then be able to be added through stuff like tuning or this guy Junk Converter. Oh, Junk Converter is very good. I'll talk about him a little bit later. But Stardust Synchron is my level 4 Synchron Tuner that I will be summoning as a result of Junk Speeder's effect. This theme, the whole reason why I'm able to summon my big papas sort of circles around Junk Speeder's ability. So, I mean, in the future, maybe I'll look to see whether or not I want to include a level 5 Synchron and an alternative level 3 Synchron. They're cool, and I'm definitely buying them just for the fan art, because I love 5Ds and I love Yusei. But right now, I kind of like having the 3 Junk Synchrons. But getting back to Stardust Synchron, if I can stay on topic for once. He's nice because when he is able to be summoned through the effect of the Junk Speeder, he also has his own way of being able to summon himself. But I rarely do that unless I'm in a pinch. When he does get summoned, then I can bring the Arrive in Light, which I only run 1 copy of because it is so easily searchable. I bring the 1 copy of the Arrive in Light from my deck to my hand, and then I play it. And I'll get into what I will do with that a little bit later. But that's why I have Stardust Synchron, and he's really nice because he's a level 4 Synchro monster, which can make some of the easier level 8 Synchros down the road. So with Junk Synchron, he's pretty typical, you know, he does his normal summon. So this deck does a whole bunch of special summoning and not that much normal summoning. So it is good to have multiple monsters in here that you would just want to use your normal summon, so that way you're not like foregoing that, because it's very important. But he will be able to bring out a lot of these guys in here, because you can see these are all level 2 or lower right here. There's lots of targets for him in the grave. And then TG Warwolf, when I first was making this deck, I didn't even consider him, and then I was like, you know what, let me try this idea. And he is so good because it's so often that you're special summoning a, how does it classify? Level 4 or lower monster. So he gets a free special summon as well. So it's very nice especially since back in the day when I was running Chaos Ruler, I mean, I'm still technically, he's in here. But he can be added as a result of Chaos Ruler's effect. That's really nice. And then I already talked about Ascator, Caligo Claw Crow. This guy is probably an underrated underdog in this deck. The thing is, to be able to special summon, so you can only activate his effect once per turn, but if I control a dark monster, which there are a lot of dark monsters in here, if you've noticed, then I get to special summon him for free, which is extremely good extra non-tuner on the field. I've got so many tuners that have ways of finding themselves on the field or to be recycled. It's always good to be able to have another way of getting non-tuners onto the field. So that's where Quillbolt Hedgehog comes into play. Being able to put him in the grave and then be able to bring him right back. So again, Chaos Ruler was really nice. He could send him to the grave and then you would have tuners on the field, and then he could later on, once you've cleared up space, you could then special summon the Hedgehog. And Doppel Warrior, so when stuff is coming back from the grave, then when he's in your hand, you can then just special summon him. I used to run only 2 Doppel Warriors, but no, you definitely want to have 3 of these guys. It's so freaking good. But he's pretty self-explanatory. He's been around for a long time. I occasionally will get the opportunity to use his tokens, so that way I can do some of these level 2 synchro, in this case like synchro tuners, that you will need in order to summon your big papas later on. And then you've got your Satellite Synchron. I used to run 2 Satellite Synchrons because he's my level 2 Synchron monster for Junk Speeder's effect. But then Assault Synchron came out, and while he is intended to go into a Blackwing deck, I was able to find a good place for him in my Jack Atlas deck, and believe it or not, he goes really well in this deck as well, because again, he's a dark monster, he's a Synchron tuner monster, and he finds an easy way to special summon himself. And not to mention, just like with Red Nova and Red Supernova Dragon, who banish themselves in order to activate an effect, and then this guy can banish himself from the grave to then just put him right back onto the field, the Big Papa. I've got another guy in here that does the exact same thing. Shooting Majestic Star Dragon can banish himself. Wait, isn't this the guy that... yeah, you can banish this card until the end phase, and if you do negate the activation of it. So he can banish himself, and then Assault Synchron will bring him right back. And then I believe Cosmic Blazor Dragon will do the exact same thing. Yes, he does. And so that's really good. Assault Synchron can help out in that respect as well, as like multiple effects, which you need in order to stay competitive against the like current meta and everything. I'm not saying that this is going to be a top tier deck out there in the space. I'm just saying that this is a very fun and good version of the Yusei deck. And then you've got Junk Converter. This is probably one of the best ways to get things started. So that way you can discard him and a tuner to the grave to then bring out your Junk Synchron. So Junk Synchron, then just revive him from the grave, so that way you can immediately go into your Junk Speeder and get everything kicked off. And then you've got your Flourish Synchron, so it's another level 2 Synchron monster that you could target. The reason why I really like him is as soon as he has already been Synchro Summoned, then you get to special summon a level 2 or lower monster from your hand. So you just get to... that could be a non-tuner. Typically I'm trying to target non-tuners in my hand to get extra non-tuner support on the field. Because remember, Junk Speeder just brought 5, so you put him in the extra monster zone space, and then you fill up the 5 back main monster zone spaces with 5 tuners. So once you've synchro summoned, then you probably want to choose a non-tuner from your hand, so that way you can keep synchro summoning. And then the obligatory 1 Jet Synchron. He's extremely good. Again, he would be my level 1 Synchron monster if I don't go after Cyber Synchron. Typically I'm going after Jet, because once he's in the grave, then later on in the duel, if there is even going to be a later on, sometimes I just end it right there. But I can then search for him in the grave to put him on the field, and then, you know, use him for something, probably a low-level Synchro monster. And then you've got your Boost Warrior. Very simple, right? If you control a tuner, special summon him. I used to use this guy in my Laval Quasar deck way back in the day. I couldn't even believe that I had forgotten about him, sort of like with TG Warwolf. He is so key to being able to be low-level non-tuner support to make these really easy synchro. All of these synchros are just so easy to summon. I wish I had more extra monsters or extra deck space, because there are so many things that I could summon with this deck. I could summon way more big boss monsters if I just had the space for it. I mean, to be able to fit, I'm going to say 4 boss monsters in here, like pretty big boss monsters in here. I could fit even more if I really wanted to, and I could put in a Mist Bird Colossus if I really wanted to, because I'm always debating between, do I want the level 3 Synchro Tuner or do I want the level 3 Synchro Non-Tuner? that, geez, it's a constant struggle to figure out like what is the best balance, because every duel is a little bit different. Okay, anyway, so tuning wear, I definitely want to have the 1 tuning wear because he's pretty easy to use up in a synchro summon, and then you get a draw card. It's just good for extra support. I've got the 1-for-1, so all of these are pretty easy to bring from the deck once you've got the 1-for-1 in your hand. I've got Cyber Synchron. This guy has actually saved my, I think it was a shooting Quasar Dragon one time. He saved it, and probably some of my other boss monsters as well. But he was able to save it because, read his last effect. If you're a monster in the extra monster zone would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So it like protected Quasar after Quasar already negated an effect to keep himself on the field. And then they decided, oh, I'm going to activate another card to destroy Quasar. And then Quasar would have been... Notice I don't have a Shooting Star Dragon in here. Oh, that's probably one monster I would add in here if I could. If I had extra room. And I was like, oh no, there goes my Quasar. And no, Cyber Synchron was like, would you like to activate an effect? I'm like, fuck yeah, let's protect him. So that's exactly what happened. Now, the other thing that I like about Cyber Synchron, his first effect, is level manipulation. You take a monster that's on the field. Yeah, it's got to be level 4 or lower. But then you can increase its level by its original level. And I'm doing that a lot to my level 1s and level 2s mainly. Maybe every now and then a level 3, but it's mainly the level 1s and level 2s that I will try to double their level in order to make some variety synchros. And then I've got my Converging Wills Dragon. This guy pretty well replaces your Majestic Dragon. So that way it's much easier to summon your shooting Majestic Star Dragon if you've got a Converging Wills Dragon. Otherwise, it's you might as well not even bother, because this is the one that really makes it happen. And you want to try to use Arrive in Light with Converging Wills Dragon intelligently, so that way you can get his free special summon without having to waste the effect of Arrive in Light, which will eventually give you a special summon. And then you've got your Stardust Worm. So your Stardust Worm and your Converging Wills Dragon, those are the two monsters that you can use in combination with Arrive in Light, because they're the only targets for this. But I can't believe it's been a year now, and I think it's been a year at least. And this guy still is OCG only. I hope that's not a bad sign. But yeah, so he's pretty nice. He's about the only Stardust monster other than the Stardust Synchron that I would even use, even though there are a whole bunch of other Stardust monsters, like main deck monsters available to you. He's really nice because he's fairly easy to get on the field as an extra level 1 non-tuner. That's pretty well. I liked being able to send him to the grave in some form or fashion. It used to be with something like Chaos Ruler or a 1-for-1 or something, and then I could just use his effect from the grave. So that way I'm not wasting hand support. I'm getting something free from the grave. 1-for-1, pretty self-explanatory. I like Reinforcement of the Army. Yes, obviously you can go after your Junk Synchrons and your Doppel Warriors, but don't forget you can go after your Boost Warriors, which is almost a guaranteed free special summon. So that's one of the things that I really like to target with my Reinforcement of the Army. Foolish Burial. Gosh, there are so many targets. If you know how this deck can pretty well operate, then you should be able to figure out, depending on the situation, what you should Foolish Burial at that time. Monster Reborn, I mean, it's a staple. Tuning, pretty self-explanatory. And Arrive in Light. So this is, when this card is activated, place one level 1 dragon monster from your hand or deck on top of the deck. So, neither players can return Stardust Dragon or a Synchro monster that lists Stardust Dragon and its text from the field to the extra deck. That part is not so important anymore, because unlike the actual Majestic Star Dragon, shooting Majestic Star Dragon never says that it's going to go back to the extra deck at the end phase. But if you're running the original, then Arrive in Light could help protect you with that. But the main thing is to be able to get Convergent Wills Dragon. That's what I'm usually targeting, unless he's already in my hand. Then I go after Stardust Worm. But to put him on the top of my deck, so that way, when I am drawing him... So, how does this card read? When you draw this card, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand. So, the very next turn that you draw it, or if you want to activate Arrive in Light's effect when you perform a Synchro Summon, then you get to draw a card. Oh, I just drew Convergent Wills Dragon. Perfect, now I get to special summon him for free. And most often, what I used to do, I will have to, again, change out Chaos Ruler, but I used to have Chaos Ruler on the field. Then I would have Convergent Wills Dragon on the field. And then I would have some level 2 non-tuner on the field. Or Cyber Synchron could just take one of my level 1s and manipulate its level. And then boom, you got your shooting Majestic Star Dragon. Because remember, this guy's level 11. He's not level 10, unlike Majestic Star Dragon. So that's what Arrive and Light can do. I mean, obviously it can special summon a tuner from your hand as well. So you can choose either draw a card or special summon one tuner from your hand. So that's nice. And then going to Cosmic Blazar Dragon, he's basically, in my opinion, he is better and worse than Shooting Quasar. He's only going to be able to attack once, but man, he's more diverse in his abilities. So that's the reason why I, especially if I'm opening up, I'm going to go after Cosmic Blazar rather than Shooting Quasar. Also, when he activates his effect, it's both good and bad that he banishes himself, so that way they can't like try to activate 2 Dark Holes or something, right? 2 Dark Holes destroys Quasar. 2 Dark Holes does not destroy Cosmic Blazar Dragon. Yes, I know that no one's going to activate 2 Dark Holes, but I'm just using that as an easy example that I would open up with Cosmic Blazar Dragon. Now, if I'm going for the throat, then yes, Shooting Quasar Dragon because he can attack twice, and he still has the ability to negate stuff, right? Like a no Tragodia or Gores for you or whatever it is nowadays. And then Shooting Majestic Star Dragon. This guy, he may seem difficult to summon. Oh, remember, Majestic Dragon, Convergent Wheel's Dragon acts as Majestic Dragon. So just FYI, that's the reason why you're able to summon him. But notice it says including a Dragon Synchro Monster as one of the non-tuners. So that's the reason why I really liked Chaos Ruler. What a shame though. But XL Synchro Stardust Dragon is, thank God that he's out now, even though he is a little expensive. This guy is so good in this deck because read this guy's effect. This card gains 1 additional attack each battle phase for every monster in your graveyard that is Stardust Dragon or is a Synchro monster with Stardust Dragon in its text. Here you go. Because of if XL Synchro Stardust Dragon, let's say you used him up as your level 8 dragon, along with the level 2 non-tuner and your Convergent Wheels dragon to summon this guy. This guy now can attack twice. So he's just like a Quasar, except if Quasar leaves the field and then comes back, Quasar can only attack once because of his effect. He forgets how he was summoned. This guy, because it's stated in his text that he gains an additional attack, that means that when he comes back, he will still be able to attack twice. So that's really nice. And then he has multiple effects. Once per turn, you can negate the effects of one effect monster your opponent controls that doesn't target. That means Dragoon, you're gone. Because Dragoon may have 5,000 attack, but as soon as he hits the field, if you know, somehow you're able to get it onto the field, despite them having a Dragoon, you can negate Dragoon's effect, which negates his ability to not be destroyed by card effects and not be targeted. It also reduces his attack back down to 3,000, and then you just attack right over him, because this guy has 4,000 attack. And then, of course, he also has, very similar to the original Majestic Star Dragon, once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can banish this card, and if you do, negate the activation. If you do, banish that card. Now, it's not like Majestic Star Dragon where it just wipes out their field, which is nice, but it's almost as good because it banishes the card. It doesn't destroy it, it banishes. So if they activate Dragoon's effect, normally, Divine Wrath, yeah, it may stop Dragoon's effect, but it can't destroy him. This banishes, so Dragoon will go away because it doesn't target and it will banish. So that's nice. And then you've got your very strange. A lot of people probably wouldn't run this, but Shooting Star Dragon TGX, he's very nice. He's very easy to summon, in fact. And this part, so when a monster effect is activated that targets a monster you control, quick effect, you can banish one tuner from your graveyard. I have tons of tuners in the graveyard. So negate the activation if you do destroy that card. Now, did you see anywhere in there that it said this card can, this effect can only be activated once per turn? No. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. But the first effect, you can just keep banishing. So if they activate 5 monster effects, if you've got the 5 tuners in the grave, banish the 5 tuners, negate and destroy all those cards that they were, the monsters that they were trying to activate the effects on. Now, the following effects, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can negate the attack. Just straight up. An extra way of negating an attack. So this guy can negate an attack, Cosmic Blazar can negate an attack. So you've got like 3 boss monsters in here that can negate attacks. Now, that can only be done once per turn, which is fine. And then the one that I never use, during your opponent's turn, if this card is in the grave, you can tribute 2 Synchro Monsters special on this card. I mean, yeah, I guess that's really nice, but I never run into that situation. Chaos Ruler, I mean, you know why it's banned. And then this guy, I pretty well already explained him. He is, I don't use him quite as effectively as I do in the Dragoonity deck because of the fact that there is no Stardust here. But I really like him because when he is special summoned, when he's Synchro summoned, I can special summon a level 2 or lower tuner monster from your grave. there you go again. It has to be a tuner. So that's the reason why I was talking about how it's so easy to recycle your tuners from the grave or get them onto the field versus the non-tuners. Is because, again, this guy is able to do that. But you could take him and revive a Star Shaman and be able to make good stuff or something like that. Well, actually, technically, yeah, you could revive the Shaman and immediately go into the TGX. And you've got your level 6 Synchro in here. So I've got one of each level except for the level 7, which I used to have a level 7 in here, and then I noticed I didn't really need it that much. If I had extra Monster Zone spaces, or extra deck spaces, I guess. Yeah, so I'm having to pick this up on a different day because my headset battery died, so I had to charge that up and then continue. So I was just saying that I would prefer, if I had the extra deck spaces, then I would put a level 7 in so that way I could cover all my bases. But I don't really need the level 7 that much, and this is my level 6 of choice because it's fairly easy to summon. It's a warrior. I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter. The fact that I get a free draw as a result of that is very nice. So I never use the effect where this card can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls once each. I guess that's good, but I'm usually just using him to then go for one of the big guys, because you can take like level 6, level 4, or level 6, something else, and a tuner synchro, and be able to make... You could technically take him and this level 4 guy and make TGX, but I'm usually trying to use him to make one of my bigger boss monsters here. And then TG Hyper Librarian, he's pretty obvious. I've been using him since like 2012. Actually, probably even before that, Tag Force 6. When he came out, he wasn't in Tag Force 5, but he was in Tag Force 6. And he's just like so freaking good. I forget when he actually got hit to 1. I don't think it was in Tag Force 6, but he's really good because as soon as you do another Synchro Summon, you get to keep drawing cards, man. I draw so many cards with this deck whenever he is on the field. It's really nice. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention about Arriving Light. First of all, one thing that I definitely forgot to mention, you'll probably even see this in one of the example duels. When this card is activated, place the level 1 dragon monster from... That is not optional. That is mandatory. So if you have the Converging Will's Dragon in the grave already, and your Stardust Worm is in your hand, you have to get rid of that card in your hand and put it back on top of your deck. That's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is because it's mandatory. I mean, they really should have thought about that, but who cares? That rarely ever happens. I think it happened to me once ever when using this deck, but just keep that in mind. Oh, and I think one thing that I left out also is that the fact that you can draw a card and special summon a tuner, you can do both of those in one turn, but you can't do it again until the next turn. So just keep that in mind as well. But back to the ability to get Converging Will's Dragon's effect for free without having to waste the draw a card or special summon a tuner from your hand effect part of Arriving Light. If you want to do that, notice that it says when you draw this card. It doesn't say if you draw this card, which means that you can't have another effect interrupt it. So when you perform a Synchro Summon while Hyper Librarian is already on the field, so let's say you just made Stardust Charge Warrior, and after you already activated Arriving Light, so you place the Converging Will's Dragon on the top of your deck. Now you just made Stardust Charge Warrior, and you have Hyper Librarian on the field. It's a little bit tricky if you have Hyper Librarian on the field because you need to make sure that the drawing the card is the last thing that happens. But it's not. When you summon Stardust Charge Warrior, his effect goes off to allow you to draw a card. But Hyper Librarian's effect is going to chain to that, allowing you to draw a card first. So you draw a card for Hyper Librarian. You just drew Converging Will's Dragon. When it was drawn, you can special summon it. No, you can't, because Stardust Charge Warrior's effect now activates in reverse, right? So it's the last thing that happened in the chain. You missed the timing for being able to summon the Converging Will's Dragon, which is bad. But there are other monsters that, other monsters like when I had Chaos Ruler and I Synchro Summoned him and got a free draw from Hyper Librarian. His effect goes off as well. And this guy's effect goes off as well. So, I'm going to get into him later. But I've got a lot of monsters whose effects, upon summoning, activate. And if I drew a card as a result of a Hyper Librarian, and then the other Synchro monster activates the card, you're always going to miss the timing. So you want to summon something simple Like, is this guy? No, this is also when this card is synchro. There are things that you can synchro summon for that aren't going to, like, immediately trigger to go off after Hyper Librarian allows you to draw a card, and then you can actually get off Converging Will's Dragon. But the thing is, more times than not, you're going to miss the timing, which is unfortunate, but thankfully, Arrive in Light still will allow you to special summon this for free, you know, once per turn, as a result of it. So you can draw the card from Arrive in Light's effect and then special summon it also that same turn as a result of Arrive in Light. You don't have to rely on Hyper Librarian to get you to the draw, or Converging Will's Dragon's own effect to give you the special summon. So that's the reason why I like this deck. It gives you lots of opportunities to do things, but it's not necessarily taken away if you can't maximize or optimize the situation. Okay, Junk Speeder. This deck pretty well revolves around Junk Speeder's ability. Just make a level 5, and then boom, 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 summon either 4 or 5 Synchron Tuners. Right now it's only 4, because typically I like to have one space on the field to put a like a Claw Crow or Quibbled Hedgehog or Boost Warrior, a non-tuner on the field, so that way I can do some synchro summoning without having to rely on one of those Synchron monsters that I just summoned plus a Junk Speeder. Because it used to be I would take a Junk Synchron plus Junk Speeder, go for a Chaos Ruler, and then start like milling some stuff and possibly add a Dark Monster to my hand. And then I've got Sohaya in here. Now the reason why Sohaya is pretty good, I also run him in my Blackwing deck, but he's a little bit better in this one because of the combination with Sayo. So this is Sohaya and this is Sayo. And what they are able to do in combination is if this guy is in the grave and this guy gets synchro summoned, he can special summon him. So that's a level 5 plus a level 2. And I'm almost positive. If this card is synchro summoned using a is treated as a 2. No. Hold on, what is this one? If this card is synchro summoned using a black moon. Oh, right. So if you use Sayo to synchro summon for Sohaya, he can actually turn himself into a tuner synchro, which I rarely do, but it is a possibility. But more times than not, I will have some other synchro tuner plus these 2 non-tuner synchro monsters on the field. But that's the reason why I really like him. He's easy to summon. Like level 5 synchros in this deck are easy to summon. That's the reason why I've got more of them than any other level in the extra deck. You'll see his effect go off in a couple different ways in my example duels. So I've got I only have 3 synchro tuner monsters that are by default synchro tuner. So Haya obviously can manipulate himself, but depends on the situation. This guy is key. More often than you would think, he is able to like change his level to 1. So as soon as he is synchro summoned, that is your opportunity to change his level from 1 to 3. If you don't activate his effect, then he stays as a level 4 synchro tuner. But if you need him to be, I have needed him to actually be a level 1 synchro tuner before, which normally that's impossible, right? But because of his effect, it is possible. The only thing to keep in mind is that if you synchro summon using him, that's the last synchro summon that you can do for that. Actually, it's a special summon, right? You can only special summon. No, hold on. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except for a synchro monster using this card as material. So that's the end of your synchro or special summoning for that turn, which is okay because normally it terminates into a Cosmic Blazar or Shooting Quasar. So I'm okay with that, or TGX, I suppose. But yeah, he's extremely good and he was cheap. That's the thing about it, except for XL Synchro Star. I didn't know that he was going to be so damned expensive. But every single card in this extra deck, well, actually in this entire deck ever since they reprinted Stardust Synchron, it's fairly cheap. I mean, Cyber's Synchron, I think he might be the most expensive card. Technically, Stardust won't been out yet, but it's like $2. If that's expensive to you, you should probably get out of the Yu-Gi-Oh game like right now. But I also have Cheerful Melfi's. I have that in here right now. I think in real life I've sort of sided out Cheerful Melfi's for my Armory Arm, only because it's more nostalgic. It's more iconic. The Armory Arm was actually used by Yusei. But Cheerful Melfi's is alright. If this card is special summon, you can target one face-up monster on the field, return it to the hand. I mean, that's pretty good, right? So I guess depending on what sort of opponent you're going against, you may actually want a Cheerful Melfi's over an Armory Arm. But in most cases, it doesn't matter. I'm just using it for the Synchro Summon, taking it to make a big pop-up. That's usually it. So Martial Metal March. I was debating like for many months whether I should have a level 3 Synchro Tuner or a level 3 non-tuner Synchro Monster. I ended up putting the Martial Metal Marcher back in because he also... I told you, I have so many cards in here that can special summon tuners onto the field, like back from the grave or just like from your deck or from your hand. So many cards. This is one of those. So a synchro monster that used this card as material is treated as a tuner while face up on the field. So you need to be careful about that. If you're going to just use him and terminate into a Big Papa, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to use him to summon something that's less than a Big Papa, you just need to keep in mind that it is going to become a tuner, a synchro tuner. I've got Sayo. I pretty well already went over this guy. He's level 2. He's fairly easy to make, and he comes in handy quite a bit. And then you've got your, well, what is he called? Celestial Double Star Shaman. So he is a good way. So many cards are able to like special summon back tuners. This is the one guy that's really good about summoning back non-tuners. It says you can special summon up to 4 level 2 non-tuner monsters from your hand and or grave in defense position, but they have their effects negated. Also, you cannot special summon monster from the extra, except synchro monster. Okay, that part you can pretty well disregard. I'm only going to be doing synchros. He is extremely good to be able to bring back your Doppel Warriors. Your, well, Doppel Warrior especially, but obviously you've got lots of targets that you can hit. The Junk Converter, Caligula Claw Crow, Boost Warrior, Tuning Wear, but remember its effect is going to be negated, so it's going to remain as a level 1. But the Doppel Warrior is really nice because his effect doesn't go off until he hits the grave, so then you get like 2 free tokens if you're able to optimize the field well. And he himself is obviously a synchro tuner, so, oh, I take that back. Star Shaman might actually still be kind of expensive. He might be like $6. I don't know. Potentially is going to get reprinted. I would like to see that. I have no idea about whether or not Wheel Synchron and Revolution Synchron are actually going to find a place in this deck, but let's go ahead and jump into the replays. Yeah, see, I just missed the timing for Converging Wills Dragon. Oh, yeah, this is also back when I was still running this shit. So this was really old, but this helped me. Well, I guess you could also run this guy if you wanted, but I ended up taking him out because I preferred my new build a lot more. But this is like sort of the evolutionary process of this deck. There you go, free special summon, because there was nothing to interrupt it. And that was just like a super easy shooting Majestic Star Dragon. Here comes the Big Papa. And that was just like opening turn, right? So you want to go for Cosmic Blaze on him. There you go. And that's, I'm telling you, like, it looks like, oh my god, how can you consistently summon all of these boss monsters? I thought the same thing. And it just, like, I tweaked it little by little by little until I was able to realize the potential that, yeah, you can pretty well summon any fucking thing you want in here because of the synergy of all those damn monsters. Thank God for Quillbolt. This is my modern deck because I'm no longer running the quick draw. Now shooting Majestic Star can attack twice. The Cyber Synchron was able to level manipulate my level 1 right here, so that way I was able to take Converging Wills, now a level 2 non-tuner monster, and my Chaos Ruler in order to make the shooting Majestic Star. And there goes Assault Synchron using its effect. Yeah, remember, shooting Majestic Star Dragon could attack twice because of XL Synchro Stardust Dragon or whatever the hell it's called. Now that's the last synchro summon. But that's okay. Yeah, there's that level 7 that I was telling you about. I don't even use it anymore because it's freaking useless. This deck is just like freaking crazy good. So one of the things that I wanted to mention, because I forgot to do that earlier, so you might have seen in the last duel that I was able to perform synchro summons after summoning Photon Pulse Dragon. And one of the things that I forgot to mention was the fact that it's when you activate his effect of upon being synchro summoned to manipulate his level. If you activate his effect to make him a level 1 through 3, that's when you can no longer perform synchro summons after using him up in a synchro as a synchro material. So if you just keep him as a level 4, you can do exactly what I just displayed in the last duel, where you can continue to special summon and synchro summon after he hits the field. Alright, so yeah, so that's pretty well all there is to it. Just be patient. So one of the things about being able to like speed up the replays and everything is it looks like it's so fast, and it looks like I'm a genius, which I am a genius, but the thing is, it took a lot of time and calculation in order to maximize all the potential summons, especially with the synchro summons, in order to get an advantage on the field that I knew that I would be able to wipe out my opponent. The whole point of this deck is you want to OTK them. At least that's what I've been able to do, so that's what I'm saying. Is that you're wanting to OTK the opponent because you don't want them to last any longer than they absolutely have to. So get out one big boss monster so that way you can protect yourself and potentially try to maximize it such that you can get out 2 of them, especially if one of them or all of them can attack twice, like the Shooting Majestic Star and the Shooting Quasar. If there is anything standing in the way, obviously I'll just attack. And yeah, so without belaboring the point any further, I will work on this deck a little bit in the future in order to see whether or not I want to incorporate anything new into it. I'm going to have to find a replacement for Chaos Ruler. I mean, I'll keep them in my side deck if they ever decide to bring them back. But yeah, for right now, this deck has worked really well for me, and I'm perfectly happy with it, especially since I'm a huge fan of Yusei's. So that's it for now. It's going to be a while before I bring anything new in the future. Maybe Crystal Beasts, because I was able to work on a really nice deck that is actually very successful at being able to OTK the opponent. It's got a 50% chance of OTKing the opponent, and it's a 75% chance of winning and a 50% chance of actually OTKing them. But yeah, that'll be in the future. So that's it for now. See ya.